Happy November. I hope you had a wonderful Halloween. I have a bowl full of candy still because either Halloween has fallen off or there's just not a lot of kids in my neighborhood, which could be true, but I don't appreciate it because I was super excited about passing out candy this year to be met with roughly 10 children. But we're not here for that. It's fine. We are here to talk about what I read in October. So for my October reading, I tried to keep it like horror or horror adjacent, which honestly isn't too far from what I read on a regular basis anyway. I was able to get some novels in. We're going to talk about those too, but it is manga for the most part. First thing we're going to talk about is In. I had to find a translation for this manga because there's not an English translation. So I had to go with a fan translation. But when I was looking for something random and new to bestow upon my little horror brain, I came across this and it sounded super interesting. So In is, I guess, a bunch of smaller stories that are linked by one event. The first one is this group of kids, like, I don't know, they're junior high, high school, whatever. They just randomly go missing. There's another instance where an entire elementary school classroom worth of children are killed. And then there's a suspicious car crash that happens. And the only thing that these events have in common is that there's a letter N left behind. And as you continue to read, there's questions of, is this a cult thing that's going on? Is it some kind of, what is it called? The stories that aren't true, but the rumors. Oh my gosh, word. Urban legend, that's the word I'm looking for. Is it an urban legend? N was a cult that supposedly had disappeared a couple thousand years ago, but they were a thing at some point. And what I read, I did enjoy. I'm not sure what I read because it is a fan translation and I couldn't find a whole lot of information on the manga. And the thing is, I didn't investigate too much before I got started. I just read the synopsis and was like, this sounds like something I'd be into. And I started reading. So I think I read volume 1 and volume 2. Still not really sure. And then I don't know if it's on hiatus or if it's just not done being translated. Like, I could not find any information on this manga. But what I did read ended abruptly. So if anyone has any information for me, that would be fantastic because I would like to keep reading. But like I said, from what research I did do after the fact, I couldn't find anything. Next, I read The Eyes Are the Best Part. This is about a girl in college. Jiwon is a Korean American girl whose parents have just split. Her mom is not taking it well at all. None of the family is really taking it well at all. And then this guy, George, I believe his name is. Yeah, George, who's a white guy, falls in love with Jiwon's mom, and Jiwon's mom, who is full Korean, her English is a little broken. They do what they can to communicate with each other, but George is a creep. We don't like George. George is weird. George is giving Asian fetish vibes throughout the book, and Jiwon slowly but surely falls into what I would call a scary descent into madness. Like, she gets this weird obsession with blue eyes, and George's eyes are blue. I don't want to give too much away, but homegirl needs some help. She also has this guy in her class who was like, I would say obsessed. I would say if I were in her shoes, I would say that dude was obsessed with her. And she can't decide if it's just a random white guy that's also got this weird Asian fetish or if he's just overbearing and awkward. But either way, she is not with it. And the story basically touches on culture issues, race issues. There are horrifying horror elements in this book. And if I have learned anything from this book, it is that I do not do well with body horror. And I don't know if it's this book in particular, but some of the descriptions about some of the things that were happening, and it could just be an eyeball thing. Maybe I'm not good with eyeballs. But there were some times where I was gagging and was like, nope, we're not, nope. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Up next, I read What the Woods Took. I did not know that this was a YA book going into it, and I don't read YA because it's usually not enough something for me to keep me interested. But I was very pleasantly surprised by this book. As I read, I could tell it was YA. You know, YA verbiage is different from adult verbiage. So I could tell, but it was a fun time and I really enjoyed myself. So in this one, we're following Devin, who is a foster kid. She's 17 and she's, I guess, troubled youth as she's described. And one day she wakes up and there are two men standing over her in her bed in the middle of the night, and they're kidnapping her and taking her to one of those wilderness rehabilitation camps for troubled youth. You know what I'm talking about? When they come in the middle of the night and snatch you out of the bed. Yeah, your parents gave us permission to do this. We're gonna set you straight in wilderness camp. So she meets up with some other people in the van, and they are dropped off in the Idaho forest for 50 days, I think. And they're going through the motions or whatever of this wilderness camp. We meet some more characters. They're all troubled youth. They all have different backgrounds and stuff. And then one morning they wake up and the counselors are gone. What do you mean the counselors are gone? Just what I said. The counselors have disappeared. They're in the middle of nowhere in the woods and they still need to survive and they still need to get home. What began as what they thought was like, oh, this is just another test from the counselors. They quickly realized that no, that is not the case. And there's some things in the woods that are trying to get them. It was, I don't know, it was a really fun book. There's a lot of scary moments. There's a lot of unsettling moments. There's a lot of humor. There's some coming of age. There's some heartfelt memories. I would recommend it, even if you don't usually read YA stories, I would definitely recommend it. And yeah, I might actually check out some other titles by this author. Okay, let's talk about Dorohedoro. I read volumes 2. These are upside down. I read volumes 2 through 7. Y'all, I want to like this so much. I really want to like this. Not only because I already own the entire series and I don't want to think about the money that I have thus wasted on this, but it just seems like fun. But I just can't wrap my head around anything that's happening in this story. I went into this with a buddy read, okay? And then I had to hit up said buddy and was like, listen, man, I can't do this anymore. By volume 7. When I felt myself forcing myself to get through it, I had to stop and ask myself, why am I doing this to myself? And when I couldn't come up with a freaking answer, called it quits. And I don't understand. I like the characters, okay? I like the premise, the idea of the story. For those of you who don't know, Dorohedoro is about this world, okay, and there are sorcerers and there are not sorcerers, and there are some sorcerers going to the not sorcerers and doing little experiments and stuff on them without their permission. Poor Kaiman has been morphed into this lizard human hybrid thing, okay, and he just wants to know who did it to him and why and get some revenge. Sounds like a great premise, right? It is a great premise. It's a fun time when I understand what's going on, but that's like 30% of the time, and that's not enough for me. Not to read 23 volumes. There's blood, there's gore, there's humor, okay? And when it lands, it lands, and I love it. I've never hated a series so much. I don't hate it. I just don't get it. And I can't say that I've been in this predicament before with the manga series, and I don't know what to do. So, would I recommend this? Absolutely. I just don't know to who. People smarter than me. People who have more patience than me. People who can turn off their brains and just have fun. Who cares if I don't understand it? Okay? When I get it, I get it, and that's all that matters. Those people, pick this up. Then again, I could just be stupid. That is very plausible. Okay? Very plausible. But I know that this is a beloved series in the manga community, and I can understand why. My brain just doesn't want to wrap its head around it. And I'm torn between getting rid of it or coming back later and trying again. Let me know. If you've read Dorohedoro, my camera cut off. They said I was doing too much. If you have read Dorohedoro, tell me something. Let me know. Let me know what I should do. Should I keep it and try again later, or should I just send it to pasture? The Kingdom of the Gods needs to be a series. Why is this a one-shot? Why? Why is this a one-shot? We are following a young prince who discovers that the dead are rising. Okay, this is a zombie, I was gonna say a zombie thriller. This is a zombie manga. It is a great time. When I say a young prince, I mean young. He's like 10, 12. I don't think they give him an actual age. And if they did, I missed it. But he is traveling with this guy who is sworn to protect him under the guise that he pays him. He doesn't care about this kid. He's just trying to get some money. There's our young prince right there. The art in this manga is phenomenal. There's a little bandit guy. I love this so much. I need more zombie manga in my life. And we'll talk about another one that I read later on in this video. But this one, I need more. I need more of this. The story was good. The action was good. The suspense, the feelings, all of it is great. There's also like a chapter 1 of Burning Hell that's in the back, something I had never heard of before. I enjoyed that for what it was too. I'm going to look it up and see if I can find some more information about that later. I don't even know what to tell you guys. Just, if you have not read this and you like zombies, go check this out. Go pick this up. As the God's Will Volume 1. Did not like. As the God's Will is basically one of those death game survivor type manga, which I love. I'm pretty sure it's one of my favorite genres. Like, I don't want to put it in the category with Battle Royale, because Battle Royale is actually really good. Kid comes to school and randomly his teacher head explodes. And then there's a god. There's some other little things that are like, hey, you want to go home safely? You want to survive? Well, let's play some games. It was, I guess, like Squid Gamey, maybe, which I guess is still Battle Royale-y. And Squid Games is good too, so I also don't want to compare it to that. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't for me. It was way too over the top. It was way too... I mean, people are dropping faster than I get to know their names. I don't know what's going on. And these games are just randomly happening with not too much instruction. And these kids are figuring out what's going on with very little clues. And again, maybe I'm dumb. A good possibility that I'm dumb. But they're figuring these games out very quickly. And it doesn't work for me. And maybe as the story progresses, it'll get better or things get more fleshed out. But I stopped at volume 1 because I had no interest in continuing. It was giving, we don't care about the story, we care about the shock value, if that makes sense. I didn't connect with any of the characters. Not that I think, well, I want to say you wouldn't really connect with characters in these types of stories. But then again, like I said, I think about Battle Royale and I think about Squid Games and what was another one? Doubt, Your Turn to Die, stuff like that, stuff in that genre. And I enjoyed those characters. Again, I stopped at volume 1, so maybe it gets better. But for me, as for me and my house, nah. I think it started off too fast, too quickly. When you start at 10 and you stay at 10, 10 becomes 2. You know what I mean? Was it unhinged? Yes. Was it entertaining? Mildly. Was it for me? Not at all. Next, I read 1922 by none other than the King of Stephen. Me and Stephen King have a complicated history. I tend to not too much care for his horror stuff and prefer his thriller slash sci-fi stuff, I guess. Misery, The Institute, Cujo, Pet Sematary, which I guess are horror. Anyway, me and Stephen King are very hit and miss, but I did enjoy 1922, which is about a man who is essentially giving us his confession. He murdered his wife and enlisted the help of his son to pull it off. And then we kind of slowly watch this man, much like Ji-hoon or Ji-won, excuse me, in The Eyes of the Best Part, kind of slip into some madness there. It gave me Telltale Heart vibes by Edgar Allan Poe. I really did enjoy this story. And I mean, there's some other things going on as well. And then the ending, I feel like the ending was a bit ambiguous. I'm not a fan of ambiguous endings. That did not take away from the story, I will say that. But I like closure in my books. I don't like being left with, well, is it or isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Some people love that. I'm not some people. But I would say if you do like Stephen King, to give this one a try. Kodansha. Kodansha, darling, we need to talk. I read volumes 1 through 4 of Fort of Apocalypse. And it's only available digitally. And I have a problem with that because I want to own it. And I've only read 4 of the volumes. There are 10 total, I believe. So I do plan on finishing this in November because I love this, okay? Another zombie moment. This teenager is wrongfully accused of a crime and is sent to juvenile detention, where we meet a slew of characters. And in the midst of this happening, a zombie outbreak happens and is basically us following them trying to survive. But these zombies are terrifying. They are fast. They are disgusting looking. There's like, I was going to say subgenres. We're going to go with it. Who cares? There's subgenres of zombies, okay? There's these little dog looking things. They're not little. They're far from little. And then there's like this Master Chief. There's like this head zombie guy who I think is controlling all of the other zombies. It's freaky, okay? I don't like it, but I love it because these aren't like Walking Dead zombies, okay? These zombies are relentless and they're communicating with each other, and we meet some side characters. Like there's this one guy, I don't know if it's not a spoiler. There's this one guy who's convinced that his son is just sick. He's fine. They just need to get him to a doctor. Meanwhile, they got old boy wrapped up, okay, and in a cage. Sir, your son is not sick. Your son needs to be put down, okay? And I'm not condoning violence towards children. If your baby is actively trying to kill you, baby, that's not the flu, okay? And the guy seems smart. He knows that there's a zombie apocalypse going on around him. He's just a grieving father who just doesn't want to accept what's going on, I guess. Anyway, he's just a side character. And his moment, I love his moment. So I am absolutely going to finish this series. I need physical copies. I don't know who I need to talk to make that happen, but I need physical copies and I need them now. I am hoping to God that it ends well, that the momentum keeps pushing. The way volume 4 ended, I was like, oh no. And I love when volumes of manga end on either like a cliffhanger or some major event that forces you to pick up the next volume if you care. And I care, so I will be. But beautiful. 10 out of 10. Love. Need in my life. Maybe one day we can make that happen. And that was everything that I read in October. Let me know down below what you read in October or what you plan to pick up in November. And I really need to know about Dorohedoro and what I need to do with it. So help me. Okay, bye.